Let me say good morning to all our listeners. Today we have a special guest. I would like to say good morning to all our MNC drugstore, our market vendors, our caretakers, persons in canneries and Bouton, Chateau. Oh yeah. All the communities around Soufre, Canneries, and certain parts of Choiseul. Thank you for locking on to Soufre FM and listening to our program. Also, persons on Facebook, we would like to say good morning to you, all our overseas listeners. Good morning. We hope that everything is okay out there. Um, so, of course, this month, for the month of February, we're celebrating World Cancer Day, and most of us have had a family member, a friend, a colleague who has passed with cancer or is currently most probably in remission as it relates to cancer. Or, with cancer, it's so unpredictable. I don't even know what to say because so only a person that is going through that thing called cancer can really know what it is like. And I must admit, I too am faced with a very close friend of mine suffering with breast cancer, and it's very emotional. It's You could actually feel the pain, even if you're not the one suffering with cancer. So I can tell you, family support, love, prayers, and we must say thank you to all our good doctors and nurses who provide that kind of services to our cancer patients. Bear little patients, have some love, and we are so grateful for what you do for our family members. So this February 4th is World Cancer Day, and our national theme is St. Lucia moves to conquer cancer. And I will just give you a brief history of cancer in St. Lucia. And I want persons to pay close attention because a lot of people don't understand that their lifestyle can contribute to, a lot of diseases. And I'm sure Doc will speak about that. So a few little statistics. Between the years of 2018 and 2020, approximately 1,500 females and 2,170 males died from previous types of cancer in St. Lucia. So you have quite a bit of males dying from cancer and females. And the data, according to the 2020 data, indicates cancers. The different types of cancers people die from is the prostate, breast, lung, cervix, colon, ovary, and stomach are within the top 10 cancers that cause death on island. And a lot of these cancers can be preventable. A lot of these cancers, you can reduce your risk by doing the right thing. And I'm so happy that Doc came on board to speak about um, um, the topic of cancer with us. I would also like to mention for the month of February, the Ministry of Health has a number of activities, and we would like community members, our business places to participate in these activities. And we have the Pledge 5. And the Pledge 5 is one, you have to adopt or improve 5 healthy habits. Example, if you smoke tobacco, we're asking you to stop. We're asking you to eat your fruits and vegetables, limit your alcohol intake, use your sunscreen, and, you know, be physically active. Start exercising. Do what you're supposed to do, and to make sure that you stay healthy. And we have uplift 5 people by sharing words of encouragement. Words of encouragement to improve people's lifestyle. You look beautiful today. Let us go for a walk this afternoon. How are you and your family? These are the things we want you to do. Put a smile on people's faces. That goes a very, very long way. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Give a little wave when you're walking down the road. It goes a long way. You see an elderly person always in the balcony, take some time, give a little wave, say a little good morning. How are you today? It goes a long way. And we're asking you to donate at least $5 to our two organizations, St. Lucia Cancer Society and Faces of Cancer. And for the community of Soufre, we're hoping to have a little box where you can put in a little donation at our wellness centers. If you don't have the $5, $1 goes a long way. And we're hoping that you could, support us and at least walk 5 kilometers. We have so many groups on islands. You can do it a family fun day with your family. Snap some photos. Put it up on your Facebook pages, on social media as part of our Pledge 5. And they said to tag 5 friends throughout the month of February to do those challenges. And I think it's a very, very good initiative by the Ministry of Health. It brings togetherness, community, family, and persons within the workplaces. That's an ideal thing to bring team team spirit. We never know who has cancer, who is suffering with cancer, or who would be diagnosed with cancer in the near future. So we're asking you to support, especially these organizations, as they play an integral role in our community in helping finance some persons with cancer that needs treatment, especially overseas, and so on. So if you need any further clarification, you could always call the Bureau of Health Education at the Ministry of Health, and the number is 46853 49, or 4685342 for more information. Do not forget, we're asking our business places come together, um, pledge to one of um, our two organizations, that is St. Lucia Cancer Society and Faces of Cancer. So let me just say, I will now head on to Doc. So, good morning, doctor. Are you hearing
Good
me?
morning. I can hear
How are
you.
you, doc?
I'm doing well. Thank you. How
Uh,
are you?
Wonderful. It's a while I haven't seen you.
I know it has been. It's nice to see
Yes,
you.
I guess you have not been in the Sufre community for a while.
No, I haven't. I'm based more in Castries now.
Oh, you based more in Castries.
Mhm.
Okay. So, doc, can you at least introduce yourself to our public out there?
Okay. My name is Dr. Cleanne Henry. I'm a district medical officer employed with the Ministry of Health. I currently serve Region 8, which is Castries, Cleary, as well as Region 1, which is the Rosalie Polyclinic. I started medical school in about 2011. Did a year of pre-med, then moved to Spartan, completed 2 years here, did 2 years in Jamaica with UB Mona, came back home, started my internship in 2017, and worked in the ER for about 2, 3 years before moving to community. And I've been enjoying the journey ever since.
Ah, I know that because I've had the privilege to work at one of the outreaches with you, and I know you enjoy the job very, very well.
I
Always with a
definitely do.
smile, always laughing. So, that in itself makes you feel a whole lot better by the time somebody faces you, which is a very, very good thing. About persons in our medical profession. You really make people comfortable. I think from the very first time I met you, I was very,
Thank
very
you.
comfortable speaking to you, and which is, I must say, a plus. So keep it up, Doc. And
Thank
I'm
you. I
sure
appreciate that.
persons viewing this program will realize that you always have that smile. So, Doc, without further ado, I will let you start with your presentation Once in a
Okay.
while, I will be interrupting you, but go ahead.
Okay, not a problem. So we're going to start off with what is cancer. But before we get there, I want to just briefly describe what a cell is. Because once you understand what a cell is, then you will understand where the cancer stems from. So a cell is the smallest functional unit of our existence. And healthy cells are programmed, so they know what to do, they know when to do it. They don't just do things erratic. There is a purpose to what it is that they're doing. They normally have a specialized function based on where in the body they're located. They help with growth and repair. And when they're no longer needed, they die. With cancer cells, there's no programming happening. They're very erratic in terms of their movement. There's continuous replication, there's no cell death, and they serve no purpose. So cancer, based on that, it's very easy to define cancer. Cancer is just a disease where you have this disorderly growth of cells leading to invasion of the tissue, erosion of the tissues, and eventual loss of the normal tissue. Are we okay with that?
Yes, I'm okay with that. But one of the things, Doc, um, break it down a little bit in more simpler terms for our listeners,
For
especially
our
for
listeners?
community
Okay.
members. Yes.
So we have what we call cells. Our cells are what help to control and do our different bodily functions.
Mm-hmm.
So in essence, what is happening is that these cells are not working in a manner that they should, or the way that they were designed to work. So instead of doing their function, they're now doing something that should not be happening, and that's what creates the issues and leads to the development of cancer.
Wonderful, Doc. Um, I'm saying this because many of our listeners might not understand, or they do understand, because we have persons from different walks of life in our community,
True.
and we want to bring the message across, especially for persons that might be seeing signs and symptoms and are
Hmm.
in denial. Yeah. So, Doc, can you tell us some of the risk factors as it relates to cancer?
Okay, so some of the risk factors as it relates to cancer, one of the most common ones is the use of tobacco and smoking. And we know that within our population, we've seen a high increase in cases of especially young people engaging in smoking and tobacco use. Something else that we have very common is our diet and increased rate of obesity. I am very sure, and you can attest to that, that in your time you were not seeing as many overweight or obese personnel, but now it's almost everywhere. You go out to the stores, you go on the road, and you can see that majority of St. Lucian's populations are grossly overweight. And when you have an increased weight, you're increasing your fat deposition, you're increasing the way in which your body can work and function. You're increasing your risk of metabolic conditions, things like diabetes, hypertension, and all of these things will in turn increase your risk of cancer. The other thing that can cause that is excessive exposure to sunlight. I find Samotians have, or Black people in general, have this tendency where they say, well, I have a bit of color, so the sun does not affect me. That's not practical. We are at risk as any population of developing skin cancer. So it's important that we use adequate protection when we are in very hot environments, we use sunscreen, things of that nature. There are occupational exposures that can also contribute to the development of cancers. Some people, we do not have a lot of these things here in St. Lucia in terms of occupational hazards, but it's still good to be aware of them. You have in other countries where you have people who would be working in mines, people would be in places where they have asbestos. All of these factors can contribute to the development of cancer. Different viruses, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, HIV. All of these are viruses that can lead to the development of cancer, which is one of the reasons why we advise persons to practice, to have safe sexual practices. Parasites, certain parasites can also contribute to your risk of cancer. One of the major predisposing risk factors is family history. We have persons who have a family history, whether it be the grandmother, an aunt or uncle, who may have had some type of cancer, be it prostate, colon. Automatically, once you are aware of that, you recognize that there is a risk to you if that is in your family history. So you do the necessary screenings and you take on the necessary tests to ensure that you're covering your bases. Anything that impacts the immune system, high levels of stress. And I don't mean stress in the sense where you, for example, me coming on this show, I mean, that's not going to give me cancer. This is just a small episode. But when you're or you're in a situation where you have very long exposure, the people, we have a lot of people who have family members who are ill and sick and shut in, and they do a lot of home care, and they're primarily responsible for the well-being of that family member. That person is under prolonged period of stress for a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever time it takes in order to be able to care for that individual. So these persons need to find better ways to manage their stress. If you have a personal issue that you're dealing with, that has been something that has burdened you for a while, all these things can to cancer because you're weakening your immune system. And anything that weakens your immune system is going to put your body at risk of these changes in the cells that can lead to the development of cancer.
Doc, I think well said, especially persons exposed to secondhand smoking as well.
Yes, yes, as well.
Persons who consume a lot of alcohol.
Hmm.
Um, all of these things, can contribute, that lifestyle can contribute to cancer. And what we find, like you said, a lot of our young people start smoking at a very early
They
age,
do, they
as
do.
well as been drinking, consuming large amount of alcohol, and so on. And
And not to cut you off, but that we're idolized as the party hub of the Caribbean. So it's something that, we may need to work on, not just from a health standpoint, but just in educating people that, everything has to be done in moderation.
I so agree with you. And um, one of the things I've always said is that parents need not to introduce their children to these habits at a very, very early age.
Very true.
And we need to be mindful of what we do when we drink our alcohol. Do not give our young to taste, and so on. These are the practices. That's how it stems in our community. And I have said it before, I too have been a victim of that from a very early age. You they give you to taste the alcohol, the wine, the rum, and so
Mhm.
on. So you end up, it's all in you until you decide, okay, that's not the best way for me. So parents, be mindful of what you do and how you do it, especially to our young ones. um Doc, having said that, are some cancers preventable? Because I know a lot of people feel, no, say that do it, you go dead, don't do it, and they feel no
You,
matter
you,
what.
you only live once. That's the new motto of the young nowadays. So
Yes.
it does not matter. Do it anyway. So I'm going to be saying this with a great deal of caution. No cancer is 100% preventable. However, managing certain modifiable risk factors, and a lot of the risk factors, with the exception of family history, are modifiable. And even with a family history, just because you have a family history of cancer does not mean you're automatically going to develop cancer. But if you already have a family history and then your lifestyle is one that is going to encourage cancer development, you're putting yourself at an increased risk. So by making the necessary changes, watching diet, exercising, monitoring what we eat, ensuring that we eat less processed foods, eat more of our local food from our local vendors, our local markets, not to avoiding excessive alcohol, avoiding smoking. All of these elements can help reduce significantly your risk of cancer. So it's not a case where you only live once. Rather, what can I do in my own setting and my own life to ensure that I live very well and not put myself at an increased risk of developing something that I otherwise would not have developed had I taken better care of myself.
I agree that and Doc, and one of the things you find people um make excuses. It's that the fruits and vegetables are expensive. They look for all excuses, but persons can be innovative. They can do home gardening. They can also, when fruits are in season, they can store it, freeze it for later use. All these things persons can start doing because people tend to say they don't have this, they don't have that, but it's all around us, especially in St. Lucia. You run up the road or you walk up the road, there is a guava tree by the road. The fruits are all around us, and our local fruits, instead of you going and buy the apple, the pears,
I'm
and
so glad you mentioned that. You know, I find our local population, and I have the discussion with my patients all of the time because I like to create an environment with my patients where we can openly discuss issues. So we spend a lot of time just talking, finding out what's in the home, how we can rectify that. And it's amazing that a lot of solutions find it difficult to carve out the finance to take better care of yourself, but yet still we have the finance to go to the parties, we have the finance to go to the events, we have the finance to buy the new dress for that wedding. So why not take that same finance and make an investment in yourself, which is the best investment you can make? We speak about the foods being too expensive. Cancer treatment is a lot more expensive than the food. So you might as well invest in yourself. And I think sometimes when we think of fruits or we think of vegetables or we think of healthy food, there's always this stigma that you have to buy apples or you have to buy the grapes or you have to buy the cantaloupe. We have our own local fruits. We have oranges, we have plums, we have grapefruits, we have five finger. Why don't we I find that you barely see children with pack lunches with local fruits. You always see apples, pears, grapes. Why not pack it with watermelon, with an orange, with a grapefruit? Give them a five finger. We are now so commercialized that we eat a lot of pasta, we eat a lot of Americanized and foreign products. We can do the same thing with our local food. You can make a dish with eggplant. You can use the eggplant as a base for the lasagna instead of using the pasta. You can use your sweet potato to make a pie instead of using the Irish potato. There are so many things that you can do. I encourage my patients, and I started my own health journey about a year ago because I wanted to be more of an example to my patients. And I believe that, when you do that, it really helps you to become so much more creative because you find yourself trying to look for all innovative and creative ideas of using the same foods that you would normally take, but in a different format. There are so many ways of just elevating what you eat and it still being very nutritious.
That is so true, Doc, because more and more, some people are becoming more health conscious, and
Mhm.
you know, and even our local teas. I mean, the sour soft leaves, the bay leaf. People tend to focus on more of that. um,
The tea bags.
the black teas and
Mm.
so on, but you have the things all around you. Why not utilize it?
And it's better because you know where it comes from. You can go on the tree and pick it. You do not know what's in the tea bag. You do not know what the ingredients are. And there's so much added preservatives that are being added to foods now. You have to be very cautious with these things.
I tend to agree with you, and getting our children so accustomed to these chocolate tea and all of these
Yes,
things,
yes.
that has.
So soft drinks.
So, and that is
Okay.
where it should start. And we really want persons to, start with our children at a very early age. Another thing I want to say is I remember some years ago, I went to the pediatrician, and what he said to me, my daughter was overweight. And then he said to me, um, what I eat is normally what I give my own child. So if I am
Mhm.
overweight, automatically my child will be overweight too. And so we as parents have to be cautious about what we cook at home, the different foods that we give our children. If we start our children with fruits and vegetables at a very early age, they grow up eating these
It's
things,
true.
and better development for them than every time you say you're going to treat your child to a KFC or a pizza place, or this kind of stuff, and it doesn't take much time to prepare healthy meals at home.
It doesn't. And it's less costly than buying something every single day.
And I tend to agree with you. But a lot of us, we want things to happen easy and less of a hassle for us. But we have our juices. We can make our local juices at home instead of buying the box juices and all of these things. And these are the things we really want parents to start doing, even for ourselves as adults. You know, you go to the supermarket, and the amount of, packaged foods you buy for yourself, when you have
Yes, it's
exact
true.
same things at home where you can prepare it. Why buy an orange juice, box juice, when you have limes, you
When,
have lemons, you have everything in
and
the
you can
backyard?
make them yourself. And when I started my, journey to just taking better care of myself, that was one of the things that I did. I cut off processed sugars. If I want to make juice, I would get the limes and get the grapefruit and get the passion and make it myself. That way I could monitor what's being placed into it. I cook more of my own food. I know what I'm putting in the food. I do not know what I'm buying when I buy it in a packet. I do not know so many. Have you ever read the labels on the back of these packages? I can't even pronounce half of the names of these things. So why would I want to put that into my body?
You're so right, Doc, and a lot of them have a lot of added sugar. When you look at the
They
added
do.
sugar content, and then you see the added sugar content, that's even higher than some of what
Mhm.
they actually show you um in the label. So you have to be mindful of all of these things.
Very true.
So, Doc, having said that, there are so many, availability of screenings we have, um, and other things you can do to help person detect certain kinds of cancers at a very early age. Would you like to just speak a bit about maybe one or two that
Okay.
you can do, and then for early detection?
Okay. So with women, I'm going to start off with the women first. With women, there are things that we can do generally that are going to be the first signs of early detection for you. One of the primary issues, one of the most common breast cancers that we have in our society when it comes to women is breast and cervical cancer. We need to teach our young women to do self breast examinations. That is the first order of the day. Before you get to the mammogram, before you even get to the ultrasounds, doing daily breast examinations can clue you into any little change that happens because you begin to recognize what your normal is. So when there's a change that you're unaware of or you're unaccustomed to, you go to your primary physician and you say to them, "Hi doc, I realize that there's this dimple here, there's this lump, there's this discharge that was not there before. That is your primary start to helping screening in terms of breast cancer. When you then you move on to things such as your mammogram. Your mammogram is one of your most one of the best screening tools when it comes to breast cancer. We encourage women to start their mammograms between the ages of 40 to 45, and you continue doing it age. If there is a family history of breast cancer, then you want to go a little earlier and start at 50. So you do that every year. Unfortunately, we do not have availability to do mammograms within the community health sector, but we have so many labs in San Lucia at all the different major district points now where you can go. All you need to do is come to your local health center, you get the X-ray ultrasound form, and you bring it to the lab, to the ultrasound department, you get the mammogram done, and then you review the results. That way, if you're doing it yearly, any change that happens, you become aware of it. So not so much time passes before you're aware. We have to remember that detection is key when it comes to ensuring that your prognosis is better. Our pap smears, any woman who is 21 and above and is sexually active should be having a pap smear. That is a free service being given at the health center. Yet on the days where the pap smears are available, you can get two, three women. It's a free service. There's no money that you have to pay to get it done, but you still get so few women taking advantage of the service. Pap smears recommended every 3 years. However, personally, I recommend my patients to do it every year. I had a patient of mine that I saw, and she had been discouraged from her previous physician to not do it every year. And the 1 year that she missed it, when she did it the following year, there was cancer detected. Had she done it every consecutive year, we might have noted in that 1 year that was missed that there was some precancerous cells, and we would have been able to do something. So I understand that, some literature says every 3 years, but in my own personal setting, I tell my patients every year. It's a free service, come and get it done. With men, we encourage them to do the prostate ultrasound, we encourage them to do the PSA. These are things that they can come into to their family physician or to the health center, to the physician there. We can write up the forms and give it to them. We also have availability of stool testing to do. There is a test that we call fecal occult blood, and it's really to detect whether there's any hidden blood in the stool that can give us a clue as to whether there's something happening there, and then we can move from there. There are other more invasive measures. We have other tumor markers that we do, but then we do these based on the presence of signs and symptoms that may give you a high index of suspicion. Like I tell the patients, come in, do the screenings. You want to know ahead of time. The earlier we know, the more we can do, the more limitless we are in terms of treatment, the less likelihood of spread, the greater your prognosis of getting a favorable treatment, and the more likely you can live cancer free for the remainder of the duration of your life. When you come in and you delay and you come in and you're at stage 3, when you notice something that was present 2, 3 years ago, it limits our options. And at that point, we have to think of, okay, has there been spread? And once you have spread, it makes it more difficult because then it's no longer a case of we can just surgically remove this aspect. It's a case of, okay, I need to start exploring radiation, chemotherapy, all the other treatments possible. And in some cases, you're not able to get the kind of response that you want because of where they are. And these things are so costly. Cancer is not it's not an inexpensive disease to have. It's very costly, and sometimes people have to travel out of state to get the required treatment that they need because it's not available. our our setting. So the earlier that you can early prevention, early detection, preventative measures, that's the key to ensuring that we manage this properly.
Thank you, Doc. But you didn't say anything for the men because we know a lot of our men are a little reluctant to seek medical attention until, I think a lot of them cannot do anything
They
again,
get
or
it.
in tremendous
Mhm.
pain, or, their wives or their girlfriends or their children have to actually drag them to the wellness centers or the hospitals, especially as it relates to one of the most common cancers for men, is prostate.
The
So, what
prostate.
message you have out there for the our men?
So our men, please feel free to come in. I know that previously when we used to do digital rectal exams more often, no man wants that done. Everybody shies away. Don't touch me there. I'm not doing it. But now we've had other available options. You can have a blood test drawn and do something called a PSA, which is an enzyme that is secreted by the prostate. Depending on where the level is, it can clue you in. You can do an ultrasound of the prostate, which is not as uncomfortable as the digital rectal exam. So there are things that they can do, and the men can do that yearly as well once they get to about the age of 40 or so. If they have a family history of prostate cancer, even better, they can start earlier. But there are other venues. And apart from prostate cancer, I find we've seen an increase in liver cancers in men as well because of the excessive use of alcohol. So I employ my men. Notice, the waistline is getting a bit bigger than normal. You're not sure what's going on there. You're feeling a bit weaker than you would usually feel. You might see bruises on your skin that aren't normally there. Come in, get checked up. Do not wait until it's too late where you're so limited in our resource and ability to do something for you.
Thank you so very much, Doctor. I'm so glad you spoke about the alcohol consumption when it comes to the men and the cancer really and cancer that is related to alcohol consumption, because what you find is you go out there, you do the education. These very same people that you speak to
Mhm.
on the weekend, you see them dead drunk or by the bars and so on. And you're wondering, at what point in time will they realize that you don't need to drink alcohol every weekend? You do not need to consume alcohol every day.
No,
You can choose to drink alcohol. I mean, um,
the key is moderation. Everything.
moderation, yeah, like you said. But I don't
Mhm.
think a lot of us know the moderation. And so, um, well, some of us are guilty, especially the party, and especially me, yeah, for the Christmas. I don't think I knew what moderation was, and it starts with us too as
It
health
does, our
professionals.
healthcare
Yeah,
professionals, we have to set the example.
sometimes we do something and then we ask people not to do it, but are we
It's
really setting
true.
the example?
It's true.
We're not setting the example, because I mean, come on, it's Christmas time. You want to get your head bad, right, Erlan? So these things
I
happen,
will,
but
I
and that's
will
like,
say that it is really constant overconsumption that leads to the cancer. So if around Christmas time is the only time you really indulge a little, you're not going to develop cancer from a few days of indulgence. But if for some people this is a lifestyle, they have drinks every day. They get up in the morning, the first thing they grab is a bottle of beer. I mean, for persons like that, I mean, you really need to change that. And we do have avenues for for detox. I know at Turning Point at Solution National Mental Wellness, there is a program that the men and women can do who have issues with alcohol, and they can help them to detox from that. So there are opportunities and there are venues to help curb these behaviors. It's just that we're either not aware or we're not actively seeking out help in these areas.
I'm so glad you said that because I wasn't aware. You could have actually gone there and do that.
Yes, you can. We've actually have had patients who have referred there to get
Uh,
treatment and to see what can be done for them.
I'm happy you said that, Doc. Um, Doc, let me just speak about some myths and some facts.
Okay.
You know, especially in our Saint Lucian culture, there are times, oh boy, you know,
Yes, yes.
with all kinds of things, and you wonder where they get it from, and or sometimes it's passed on from generation to generation. That's the belief, and nothing you say or do will change that our level of thinking. I too
True.
am a victim of it. Sometimes when you come to me with all the science and so on. I've grown up all my life with certain things. You come in and tell me about the science or what research have shown, and it's even very difficult for me to believe. What some people come and say to me, and even if you know different, you're quite intelligent or you have that common sense
You question it.
with that kind of thing. What you come in front of me and talk to me about that? But all in all, sometimes you have to compare the science together with what you have
Mhm.
been raised up with and what you were made to believe from the time you were a child, and
Yes.
think of all these things.
Before you move to the myths and the facts, I just want to mention something that relates to our men. I think for men, it's important to be able to be providers and be able to take care of your families. And in order to be able to do that, our men, you need to understand that you have to be in the best health position to be able to do that. You don't want to feel less of a man because you're not able to provide what you need to because of something that was avoidable. So, men, let's get out there and let's make a difference.
Doc, I tend to agree with you, because going in our different wellness centers, those persons, those men that have been diagnosed, you see them, you see their faces. They always have that sad face, like as if they're almost going through. They're always thinking. You,
Hmm.
you understand? Because, like you said, they feel that they cannot provide for their family members anymore. And I think in looking at them, I'm thinking they're even getting themselves even sicker just by, thinking all the time, especially when they have young and
So,
vibrant wives
mhm,
or young girlfriends and so on. All these things come to play and all these things come in their mind. And like you said, a lot of times there are certain things that are avoidable. You see them at the clinics, and it's really heartbreaking. I'm not lying to tell you. You Simple things like a man is diagnosed with diabetes, and from the time he start getting sick, you see it on his face. You see, and the way they speak to you now,
it
they
breaks them down because
break
they
them down.
feel as if they're not able to, it's as if, that's what gives them purpose. And they're no longer able to fulfill that purpose. So it's not a great feeling. So I employ my men to avoid getting yourself into that situation. Just take good care of yourself.
I agree. I hope most men take it into consideration what you said out there, and and ensure that they do what they're supposed to do. Again, we don't have many men in St. Lucia. We have more women. The, the men.
So we
Um,
need to protect our men then because they're a dying breed.
Doc, sometimes you try to protect them and they don't want to protect themselves. So that's one of the issues that a lot of women have been facing, especially in relationships. You hear them talk about it, they beg them, they try everything possible, but yet still they refuse because of their own mindset. Yeah, right, Olan? So, so one of the things, Olan, you're laughing. Erland know that very, very well because I've been begging Erland, come to our men's health clinic, and that's one of the things we have at Sufre Hospital. Men's health clinic every first and third Wednesday of every month, and I've been saying it. you see more of the older men and not necessarily the
The
younger
young girl. It's very true.
clinic. So we're asking the young men, come in, just get yourself familiar with the system. It doesn't have to be if you have any signs and symptoms of anything, but you can just visit the doctor, do your normal check for the year. Yeah, and it goes a long way.
It
So
does.
by getting accustomed to the doctors and so on, you feel more comfortable. And during the men's health clinic, there are only male doctors. They don't have any female doctors, unless you request a female doctor. But most times it's our male DMOs that's in these clinics.
Yeah.
So and sometimes the clinics are almost empty. So again, the services, like you said, doc, are there. It's free of charge, but yet still, well, you just have to pay $20. Oh, if that's females, okay, so we'll need to change that. So doc, again, with some of the myths as it relates to cancer, some of them. Tell us some of them and tell us what do you think about these myths and how they can really impact on our people? You have some of the myths, Doc?
Uh, I think
Okay, I have
you,
some.
yes, yes.
So it's
So
it's
if you read them out for me, I
uh
will just speak a bit about each of them.
so they say consuming sugar causes cancer to spread.
So this is something that's very controversial, but I will agree and say that it is true. And I will explain to you why. Sugar on its own is not a cancer causing substance. All the cells in our body require sugar in the form of glucose in order to be able to get the energy to do the functions that they need to do. However, overconsumption or excessive consumption of sugar can increase your risk of cancer because when you do that, you're increasing your risk of obesity, you're increasing weight gain, you're increasing risk of diabetes, you're increasing your risk of so many health conditions, and that in turn is going to increase your risk of cancer. So that is how the relationship occurs as it relates to sugar.
Okay. An injury to the body, example, the breast can result in cancer years later.
That's a myth.
Well, I
An
grew up
injury
in that too. Yeah.
an injury, not just to the breast, but to anywhere, cannot cause cancer. What you can find can sometimes happen, and what has happened, I'm going to use the bone, for example, because that might be the most common example of cancer where you would see it based on an injury. Let's say I have a 20-year-old male who comes in, was walking down the stairs at Sufre Hospital, and that's not a very steep flight of stairs. Just walking down, slips, falls, breaks his femur. At that age, I don't expect you to break your femur from a fall walking down just that small set of stairs. We go in, we do investigations, we realize there's been some changes, some things that have happened, and we realize that you have bone cancer. So an injury cannot cause cancer, but you may have an injury that happens, and when we investigate, we find out, oh, it's secondary to that, or it was this was what was causing it all along.
Okay. The regular use of cell phone contributes to the development of cancer.
Okay, so this applies to the microwave as well. I'm just going to do these two together. So you have two different types of radiation can that is emitted. And the radiation you get from excessive sunlight exposure, radiation you get from exposure to X-rays and things of that nature, these types of radiation can lead you to develop cancer. You have ionizing radiation, that's the one that is present in these types of radiation, and the non-ionizing, which is what you would get in your cell phone, your microwave. The frequency of the emissions, they're too low and there's not enough energy to really cause damage to create that sort of transformation that will lead to cancer development. In terms of the microwave, I will place a caution there. There are certain materials, plastic type of materials that should not be placed in a microwave to be warmed. When you place these materials into the microwave, what you do is essentially causing a reaction now that is going to produce something that can actually increase your risk of cancer. So, in that regard, I would say take caution when using the microwave. Ensure that it's not a plastic container that you're using where you can have some of that substance seeping back into your food. Or use a toaster oven instead of a microwave, or use an oven or use a steamer to warm up your food instead.
Wonderful. I love that response, though. Um, a person risk for getting cancer is primarily due to having family members who have had been diagnosed with cancer. I think you spoke about that one.
Yes, I did. So because it said primarily, there it would indicate that that would be the only or the major reason why they would develop cancer. And like I said earlier, just because there is a history or someone in your family has cancer does not automatically mean that you're going to develop cancer. I know people who have more than one person in the family history who has had cancer and they themselves never go on to develop it. However, you must understand that there is an increased risk to you because of that. So if you're engaging in lifestyle behaviors, compounding on this current risk factor, you're only going to give yourself a better chance of developing. But it on its own does not automatically mean you're going to develop cancer.
Wonderful. Um, Antiperspirants and deodorants, which contain aluminum, can cause breast cancer.
Also, that is it's interesting because I read a study on that recently. The research, there's no real evidence to suggest that there's any relationship between aluminum deodorants and cancer. In theory, and I'm saying in theory, what they're saying is that because the aluminum works by in the sweat glands so that there's no absorption of the sweat into the skin, that there may be a possibility of some absorption of aluminum into the skin. However, there have been studies that have been done that show that the amount is so minimal, 0.01%. So it's really negligible and not enough to cause any damage. There was another study that I read where they looked at patients with breast cancer and they looked at the aluminum concentration in the cancerous tissue and in the non-cancerous tissue, and there was no difference. So that's false. That's just a myth. There's no proven evidence of a relationship there.
Okay. So they said eating food that has been grown on farms where pesticides and herbicides are used increases the risk of cancer.
So this is another one of those controversial. Oh, you're giving me all the controversial ones today. This is another one of those very controversial myths and myth facts. The big companies who are responsible for making these pesticides and herbicides, the agents in them by right are supposed to be controlled. So there's supposed to be an amount, and over the years, they've continued to refine these laws to ban placement of materials and agents that are carcinogenic in these pesticides and herbicides. But as we all know, nothing is foolproof. So I would say, despite the fact that from a medical standpoint, we may say that it is a low risk, use these things with caution. Don't sit there. I mean, if you're going to be using that on your farm, try to find. I'm very sure in our grandparents' time they used to use pesticides and they had more natural ways of preventing damage to their crop. So use that predominantly as opposed to pesticides and herbicides. Be very aware of what chemicals are in the pesticides and herbicides when you purchase them as well. Wash your fruit properly. Wash your fruit properly before you get it. Some people, they get lettuce, they get spinach, and they don't wash it off. They just put it in the pan. No, that's not correct. Wash your greens, wash your vegetables before use. All that can help in decreasing the amounts that you actually get in your food.
Mhm. Another thing, you can grow what you eat. Remember, we
Yeah.
said about your home garden and so on. So you end up buying less um,
Yes.
at the markets and so on. Another thing we want to tell our farmers is take time to read these labels and to use it the way you're supposed to. So a lot of people just use the pesticides and herbicides in a manner that they should not, and so on. And you hear people complaining. You could actually take the smell of these
Oh, it's on it.
pesticides. Yeah. So
Yeah.
another thing, the time in which you use these pesticides on these produce, and vis-a-vis the day you go in and sell these produce. So there is a given time before you go out there and to sell this produce. So you have to be very mindful of these things. So they said the other one is surgery. Surgery causes cancer to spread throughout the body.
That's a myth. Surgery does not cause cancer to spread throughout the body. What can happen when you have surgery is that you can get or you get better visualization. You can see more of the area. So we may think, okay, the cancer is only in your liver. But when we open you up, we realize, oh, it spread to your intestines and your lungs and these other places as well. So it gives you a greater field of visualization so you can see more. Most of the times, when we want to diagnose a cancer or confirm, what we do is something called a biopsy, where we take a piece of the tissue or the tumor in order to assess it and do a confirmation and to do confirmation. In very rare cases where the surgeon or the specialist may believe that doing the biopsy may cause a spread, what they will do is just take off the entire tumor. So instead of doing a procedure that may possibly cause spread to another area, they just take off the entire thing and then they do the confirmation from there.
That is so true because you hear that all the time. Oh, the doctor cut the person open,
Yes.
and then they, within days the person die already. So they apparently during the surgery, you hear that all the time. And the last one is cancer cannot be cured. Is that a myth
Okay.
or a fact, doc?
So in an oncology setting or a specialty setting, they don't like to use the word cured because we know that you may have a reoccurrence of the particular cancer you were diagnosed with. I will change that around and say cancer is not a death sentence. I think that's a better way of phrasing that.
Very well
I
said.
believe that people, when they're diagnosed, they go into depression and they start to think, okay, this is the end of my life. But as I said earlier, early detection is key. We have so many examples of patients who got detected very early, who had their interventions done, and who have been living in remission, which is the term that we use when there's no detectable cancer, for years. We have people who go to their old age and die from blood pressure and heart issues and nothing related to cancer, but they've had a previous history of cancer. So we don't really use the word cure, but what we do say is that you're in remission. You still have to ensure that you do your screenings, you do your follow-ups, you ensure that you take very, very good care of yourself. But it is something that can be fought. Not because you diagnose means you automatically are going to die. The advancements, there are new advancements every day in where cancer is concerned. So you come in, you don't be afraid. You take the steps necessary to ensure that You're giving yourself the best chance possible. And I think that's what we want to get across to people today. We want people to understand that you want to give yourself the best chance possible so that when the interventions are done, you're increasing your chances of having a very happy, long life free of any cancer recurrence.
Okay, Doc, thank you so very much. Any last words for our public out there?
Um, my last words would be get tested, do what needs to be done, healthy lifestyle, avoid excessive alcohol, reduce smoking, or don't smoke at all. If you're not smoking, don't start. Not a good habit to start. Ensure that you exercise, that's very important. Do proper weight management. Your screening tools are available. Please come to us. We will guide you. We will help you. We will work with you and make sure that we're giving you the best care possible. And I would just want to remind everybody about the pledges. Walk 5 kilometers, uplift 5 people, improve 5 habits, and donate to at least one of the cancer societies.
Thank you, Doctor, so very much. Very well
You're
said.
welcome.
It was a pleasure having you, and I
It
hope
was
to
a
see you.
pleasure being here.
Wonderful. I hope to see you in the program in the near future. I think you did a very, very wonderful job in explaining
Thank
everything.
you.
Erlan is giving you a clap. Um, Let me say to all our listeners out there to take some time, like Doc said, come out, do the screening. It goes a very, very long way, especially to our communities island wide, um, especially our young men between the ages of 40, in their
Mhm.
30s, 40s, and even 50s. You hardly see persons come out, and we encourage parents to start taking our little boys to the different little clinics, and just like you take time to bring our little girls to get accustomed to the doctor, to the dentist, and so on. Ensure that our boys get accustomed to their pediatrician, their general practitioners, and coming to the doctor whenever necessary, so that they can develop a relationship. So in the near future, they'll not be afraid in coming to seek medical attention at our wellness centers. Again, thank you to all our listeners. Thank you, Romanas, for setting up our link, as well as Ulan and Sufre FM. I wish everybody a wonderful day. I know it has been raining, so persons be careful on the road, especially our drivers. Take your time, and our school children, ensure that you stay safe, and our parents ensure that we take some time to take care of our very own children. Again, thank you everybody, and goodbye, doctor.
Goodbye. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome anytime.